Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Be Kind to Your Mind. Today we have Katie with us, and she's gonna, we're gonna be talking a little bit about her book and, um, well, anything around the book and how she came to, to write it and all that. So, if you want to just introduce yourself and
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Katie Maloney. I am an author, a speaker, and a trauma survivor coach. I wrote the book called Cake Pops and Coffee, a new conversation about trauma. Um, and I know Lucy is going to post the link in there so people have it. One of the main reasons why I wrote this book is because when I first started working through the 18 years of trauma that I experienced as a kid, I really looked to books for guidance, and every book that was available was just so heavily titled, and it focused only on the trauma and just resharing your story, and it just felt so overwhelming before I even started reading it. And so I just really needed and wanted a book that talked about how to move forward from the trauma in a way that was also lighthearted
light, yeah.
and even included humor. And so that was so important to me, and that is what my book is all about.
Okay, how long ago did you write the book?
I started
Or
writing.
was it was like a journey to get there?
There was a long journey to get there. I started writing the book about 10 years ago now, and it was published in 2020, so last year. But it took me about 8 to 10 years to really write the book, and there were so many revisions, and it took a lot of emotional work just to get to the point where I felt safe publishing it. So it has been.
Okay. And well, you said it. So if you, I don't know if you want to go through a little bit what it is that you went through and what took you, to that point of saying. And it's true. I mean, now we have Google and we have a lot of articles and a lot of people like you that decided to, okay, if I'm gonna just have to write what I need
Yes,
because trauma books are often so like heavy and the topics and the way they approach it, it's also not like, it's more like scientific, but
yes,
I don't know, they talk to you like you, like, okay, I'm a human being, there's a heart here.
yes. A lot
and
of these books, you feel like you're almost like a psychology experiment.
exactly, and it's not exactly, it's not an experiment. I'm just trying to find something that I can resonate with in
Yes,
a human level.
yes,
So I think that's also um one of the reasons that a lot of people have, do the same thing that you did. And but if you want to talk about what
yeah,
took you there.
yeah. So I was sexually abused by both of my parents until I was about 18 years old. And then when I finally moved away and I was in an entirely different city and I felt really, truly safe for the first time, that was when all of those triggers and all of that trauma started to come up for me. And again, that was when I started to look for the books. Um, but no one was talking about things like how to learn how to feel safe feeling sexy again after you experience trauma, or how to
Yeah.
feel comfortable holding your partner's hand, or how to share your story with a partner eventually when you feel comfortable doing so. No one was having conversations about how to do these specific things that are such an important part of the healing journey. Everybody just wanted to talk about resharing your story, talk about the trauma, say it over and over again. But actually,
Yeah.
resharing your story over and over again, it can be really re traumatizing and not super helpful. So that was, again, another reason why I really felt like I needed to write this book.
Yeah, I think that that topic about, feeling safe and sexy, it's kind of, no one talks about it as often, but it's true because sometimes we feel guilty if we do.
Oh,
For
unsafe.
sure.
Yeah.
And we should, I mean, it shouldn't, it obviously it's going in some cases it's connected because if it, sexual abuse or any type of abuse. And so it's something that you have on your mind that you connect that experience with obviously your body and how you feel about it. And when you start feeling good about it, you also feel guilty.
Mm,
And
totally.
it's like, it shouldn't be that way, especially with, it's with women. And it's and also how to share that. You don't know at what stage with a partner you should be like, um I have a little thing that I need, that I need to
Yeah.
talk about, because you're scared that they're gonna be like, "Oi, no, I cannot. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm not gonna deal with this." I mean, that goes through my mind every day.
Totally. Yes. Yes. As far as feeling the guilt, I think that's so true. I mean, when I need really, I've started working on it even more over the past year, just feeling comfortable, feeling sexy. And I just really realized how much I was changing the way I walked, the way I moved my body, the clothes that I wore, the things that I said, how I flirted or didn't flirt.
Hmm.
All of that was so influenced by this fear that I had that if I presented myself as sexy, then I was making myself vulnerable to more abuse. And that's just, you know, not true. And it's a fear that can really take over a lot of aspects of your life, but
Yeah.
it's really freeing to finally learn that you can feel sexy and feel
Yeah, I
safe.
mean, because there's a lot of our self-esteem that goes into that.
Totally.
Not feeling secure, not feeling secure, or not feeling, I don't know, but I think it's a lot about the self-esteem. But you were saying that, I lost my train of thought, but I'll have it back in a few.
Oh, you
Thank you.
got, I was gonna say you got just got a compliment about your sexy outfit, and I agree. I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. But wow. Okay. Keep talking, Katie, because I lost my train of thought
Um,
completely.
yeah. I I'm just looking at some of the comments, and it seems like I'm hearing people are resonating with the fact that they kind of changed the way that they dressed after experiencing trauma. And I would love to just share one way. And I mean, again, there's so much more involved, and I talk a lot about this in my book about how to really start feeling safe, feeling sex again. Um, but this is just one small, easy thing that you can do that's really helped me is actually have photo shoots with myself, just completely for myself, and I have zero intention of posting them or sharing them with anybody else.
Yeah.
They're just for me. But you can like wear whatever you want, do your hair, feel as sexy or beautiful or cute or whatever you want to feel, and just take these photos for yourself. And it's just so empowering.
I think, yeah, that's the word, and empowering, because the fact is that society also makes you feel like, if you feel sexy, then when you come out and you say that, you had that experience, kind of, you think that people won't believe you
Mm,
if you do the both. If you, okay, I'm comfortable with my body, but I also had this experience, and there, you feel like it would cancel one thing, which
yes.
is totally wrong. But it's also the way that the society has made this pressure of, you already know that people are going to doubt your story, like from the get-go. So you just try to, in your head, you're trying to, like, okay, what can I do so people will believe it. Okay, I'm gonna, I'm not gonna feel, I'm just not gonna feel great about my body. I'm just gonna not gonna do anything about it because I want them to believe me. I
Yes.
think that's part of, and that's also part of what the society in general. I mean, not only here, but
Yeah.
the sexual abuse and the abuse in general, stigma around it.
Totally. And the victim blaming, I mean, it is really sad, but it is a very real thing. And I love the way that you connected those two things. Like, if I am now 30 years old and I post a photo of myself looking sexy in my bikini on the beach, then somehow people will think, oh, well, she deserves the abuse
Exactly.
that she experienced when she was 6.
Uh,
Like,
exactly.
no, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally. You're like, well, I was probably like wearing diapers. What does that have to do with the with
Yeah,
my bikini, man?
yeah. And I mean, and if you, again,
And if I wasn't wearing it,
exactly,
and if it happened like 2 months ago, it
exactly.
still has nothing to do. I mean, it's the victim blaming that comes into that a lot. Like, what were you doing
Right.
that made them? And you're like, no, that it's not on me. Don't put that on me.
Exactly.
It's not normal what they did. It's not normal. You know
Exactly.
what well, we were talking about before going live, and we kind of had like a sideshow.
We did.
We forgot that we had to go live, and we were going through some talking points, and one of them was that about, often people try to find logic in 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 the way that we, handle the trauma. And you cannot find logic to something that wasn't supposed to happen ever. Like, if you're a kid, you're not supposed to be abused by someone, not your parents, not anyone. So people need to understand that we are trying to find, a solution, and we're trying to find what works, and how to cope and how to overcome. But logic, it's kind of hard because you're not supposed to be born, and at 6 someone it's gonna start doing stuff. I mean, that's not supposed to happen. So don't try to find something logical to a normal reaction to something that's not normal, and shouldn't, it shouldn't like ever happen at all. So people often come with the, but why don't you just do this or that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of trying, man.
Mhm. No, I loved this conversation because it is true. People are like, and like I said earlier when we were talking about this, it's people can be really some people are very intimidated by
Yeah,
conversations about trauma. They freak out, it makes them uncomfortable, and so their immediate response is, let's apply logic to the situation. Here are some very structured things that
exactly.
you can do. So just go to a therapist, meditate, drink tea, whatever, like whatever you need to do. Get a weighted blanket, just get a weighted blanket and you'll be fine. And that's not actually the case. And I think that, like you said, the fact that this abuse occurred is not logical. It's not supposed to happen. So I think a lot of times the healing tools that we actually need aren't totally logical. Like, for example, one of the tools that I use in my book is past self healing. So I really just I guide people through how to lay down, kind of meditate, just close your eyes and visualize going back to your past self who was abused and really needed saving. And you can hold that your past self, you can talk to them, and then you can take them
Your
to
inner child.
yes, your inner child, and take them to wherever they want to be. If they want to swim in a pool of gumdrops, go take them there. Let's do it. Imagine that.
Exactly.
And that's not logical, but it's so incredibly healing, and it's what we need.
Yeah, it's that you use the word structure, and I think that that's also an important word. Like all these structure things that should work for, yeah, if you have anxiety because you have an exam, or I don't know, yeah, the weighted blanket might help you. But if you have a diagnosis of a chronic anxiety over something really traumatic, the weighted blanket can help. I have one,
Totally.
but it's not the whole thing. I mean, it's just like a plus of all the other stuff that I've been trying over maybe more than a decade, trying to find a, anything, from all the the coping mechanisms that we start to learn as we grow, because you grow up, and you also realize that some of the things that, I don't know if it happened to you over, I mean, I'm guessing if over the 10 years that you were basically you were doing research with yourself
Yeah.
around what worked and what didn't, to put it in your book, because you grow up and often some of those things don't work anymore.
Yes.
So you also have to, it's like a daily research of what works, what doesn't. And
I love that you said that because I think, again, to go back to those people who want to apply logic to everything, um, they'll say, like, go to therapy and you'll be fine. Use a weighted blanket, you'll be fine. Do this and you'll be fine. And I just want to clarify that I absolutely love therapy. I go to therapy. I think it's amazing. And
oh yeah,
I'm just saying that there isn't just one solution to this. And I love how you said that it continually changes, because there will
hmm,
be like a year where I'm like, therapy, I need it, I love it. And then there'll be the next year where I'm like, I am absolutely loving this meditation that I'm doing now.
exactly.
And it just changes, it constantly flows, and it's okay. That's perfect.
Yeah, and even therapy, I mean, to get to that person that really understands what you're going through, it's not like you look for the first therapist and you're like, okay, I'm done. It's well, Tim said, find the right therapist for you. It's almost like finding a partner. It's someone that you have to sit and open up about things that you haven't said. Even I don't think you haven't said it even out loud.
Yes. Yep.
it
I
and you need to feel, I don't I first of all, you can feel judged, and that um uh, that's something that I went to. I walked out of a psychiatrist once during the first session because of that, because she asked me the why did I waited that long, but it wasn't in a therapy way. It was like, but why didn't you just say it? And I was like, you're a psychiatrist, I'm out. And I just left, and I was like, what the,
good
you're
for
not
her.
supposed to make me feel bad about this.
Right.
So even a therapist, it's a process.
Totally. I actually just made a video about this a couple weeks ago, because I was talking to so many people about therapy, and we all had the same conversation, that there's so many people who are hesitant to even get started in the therapy process for the exact reasons that you just listed. One, there's a lot of shitty therapists out there,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And two, people feel like they have to divulge their whole life story like the first time that they meet this potential therapist. And then if it doesn't work out, they're like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to do this all over again with somebody else. Um,
yeah,
but there are ways to, I call it interview potential therapists, and it just makes it a lot easier for you. Um,
and where sorry, I have a migraine, guys. Bear with me. Where can people find the? You said that you did a video.
I did do the video, so you can check it out on my Instagram page. It's
Okay.
Katie, yeah, Katie Maloney Coaching Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my little app.
Katie. I'm gonna put your Instagram. I'll add the also the Katie Maloney coaching. Yes, I'll add the
Yeah, perfect.
where they can find your book too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, and like right now, I'm not going to therapy right now. I'm not doing therapy. I'm just now I'm meditating has it's what you were, well, you were just talking about it, like, okay, last year, yeah, I was doing, even during the pandemic, I was, Zoom calls and all that. And but also because you cannot just, you have to finish, stay, it's the process. Even if you're I'm and at least in my case, I felt like I needed to also, okay, I started this process, she explained to me what we were going to do, so I cannot just, live in the middle of, okay, we're working with my anger and I'm just going to stop going, because that's not healthy either. You have to finish those process of, because she's working on stuff that I said she because it's her, but the therapist is working on stuff that, that you have there, that you haven't even been there in a long time. So you kind of, if she started, you need to also finish it, so you won't leave like in the middle of a heavy process, and then you're gonna feel even worse.
Yeah. And that's showing up for yourself too. And I think one of the most healing things that everybody talks about is when you're working through trauma is reparenting yourself. And so committing to those practices and being like, even when it gets a little tough, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
abandon me in the middle of this. I'm gonna stick with it, and we're gonna work.
compromise.
Yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, I'm gonna, keep using that example, because I think that was like the stage. That was the last one. After I was done with that one, I stopped. Just, I don't know. I just felt, I don't know. I had to change, but the way she worked with the anger of your, anger with of your inner child, it was a really heavy process, because she made, okay, I was supposed to like kick on the wall and like do a bunch of stuff, but it was guided. It's not like, she was next to me and she would, kind of guide you to feel all those feelings again,
Mm,
and
love that.
start acting, and start like, just let it all out. And it was like me kicking on the wall, and you start like crying a lot, and after that you feel you feel exhausted, to like, it was like, okay, now I need to just go to sleep, because I can my brain is done. So I couldn't leave in the middle of that, because I open up a, a Pandora box of anger and feelings that I wouldn't have gone if she wasn't there.
Right.
So after that, that's when but because I also felt like like meditating is helping me, and was helping me a lot right now.
Yes. Yes.
So
Um, I just really want to fast talk about that anger because I think it's perfect that you're talking about anger because I see Tim said swearing is therapy, which I think is hilarious and so true in a way because
yeah.
I think specifically people who grew up in abusive households, we weren't allowed to express anger or really any emotions. But I know for me personally, if I showed anger and I got angry and tried to defend myself with that anger, then the abuse just got worse, you know?
Yeah.
And so we grow up learning that in order to protect ourselves, we have to suppress that anger. And so, really, unleashing that anger is such a part of the healing journey. And I love that you talk about how it was structured in the way you did it, because there are ways to do it in a way
Hmm.
that is in a safe container that you can then turn off
Exactly.
when you need to and continue on with your life.
Yeah. She even, at the time, I used to like go on my lunch break, and she was like, okay, during this stage you cannot, I mean, after this you need to go home, so you need to come after you're done with work.
Yeah.
And because I cannot send you back to the office after you've been, balling and
Yeah.
having all these things, just you need to go home. You can't start like talking with people and working and taking your brain back to whatever it is that it was. So yeah, there's a structure, and that's why I was saying that we also need to finish. I compromise to do this. I'm gonna finish with this, and then I'm just gonna go to whatever it is that might work for me right now. And let me see some of the. Tim also has he has a mental health show too. Um, yeah, we are against logic, but yeah, well, Katie, she used to be. She was like one of the originals too that started doing mental health show like maybe a year ago,
Yeah,
maybe
that's true. Yeah.
like at the beginning of this whole thing. It was Christine that had one, and well, that's how we met through Christine.
I love Christine.
And it kind of, it just, so she was also one of the originals that I hope that she could, keep doing this has helped me a lot to feel better, like I don't know, talk about it, bring people that have a you have your input, you wrote a book about it, so you learn things on, I mean, I try to learn something new on every show. And with you, okay, we're talking about this, and I mean, you wrote a book. It's and
Tim.
that took you 10 years. I mean, that's huge, where you just, and it was about what you went through. So being vulnerable and talking about all the things that happened to you, it's also a really brave thing to do, and to also publish it, and for others to use whatever tools that you found that were helpful. It's a huge thing, so
Thank
we
you.
need to also acknowledge that. um but I had, because on your Instagram you posted a few like quotes from your book, and there was one, I'm gonna find it, that I really liked, that talked about wait, we had this, the trauma survivors who have attached to the special identity. And I think that if you want to talk a little bit more about it,
Yeah.
because I found that we all do that before realizing that we're doing it,
Mhm.
because again, it's not normal. We're just trying to,
Totally.
was it a struggle, Katie, writing the book? Bo is asking.
Oh, yeah, Bo, great question. So I'll answer both. I'll answer Bo's question, and then I'll talk
Okay.
about
Yeah.
the special mentality. Thanks for asking, Bo. It was a struggle at times. I would say, I mean, it did take me about 10 years. So, but that was also an on and off process. I would say the biggest struggle in writing the actual book was um, talking about some of the details of what I actually experienced growing up. Again, it was really important to me in my book to not focus on that so much, because all the other books focus on that, and I really want to focus on moving forward. And giving practical tools on how to do that. But there were, of course, I have to give some context, so I had to share. And I remember the first time my editor read the book, she was like, "So every time you talk about a memory that you have of your childhood, you sound like a robot." She's like, fix that, work on that a little bit. So really learning how to be comfortable with being like, this is what I experienced as a kid, was a challenge. But I would say the biggest struggle, and I don't want to ramble, but I do want to say one other thing is,
Oh, we ramble here. It's okay.
okay, perfect.
We're professional ramblers.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Um, the biggest struggle, honestly, was actually publishing it because I spent so long writing it. Um, and I was always just writing it as the writer, and I was rereading it as the writer and editing it. But I remember when it was finally published, I sat down and read the whole book, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to read it as a reader and just see how it resonates.
Yeah.
And I closed it, and I was like, and I just,
Yeah.
oh my god, days. It was days where I couldn't eat. I just every vulnerable part of my entire life is in that book,
Yeah.
and that was necessary because that's how I connect with humans. But it is also so scary, and it also brought up my fears of being seen by
Yeah.
my parents who were the abusers. Like, even though I'm an adult woman now, I still, that was a fear, and I still to this day receive backlash from them in different forms, and
Mm.
and that can be really triggering. So honestly, that overcoming all the fears that came with publishing it that I was not anticipating was the biggest struggle. So, but it's been so much more rewarding. All the struggles were worth it because it's been really rewarding.
Yeah, I was gonna say that after overcoming all the fears, comes the part where you actually enjoy and you feel proud of what you've done.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, the parents, they're what we were also talking about, that it's, you know maybe they're never gonna get it, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, you don't get it. I cannot. I mean, there's, you try because you try. I'm in my case, since it wasn't, the abuse wasn't directly from them.
Oh,
I
it was.
tried to
Mine
make
was.
them,
But, oh, yours. Yes, I'm sorry.
yeah, I tried to make them like understand a little bit of, how, because it took me almost 20 years to come out, and I spent uh, my teenage years, I was this rebel who didn't want to be with the family. But obviously, I didn't want to be with the family because I didn't want to be with my abuser almost every day. So that was like, that was the impression that they had, and I started. They sent me to a psychologist because I was a rebel. I didn't want to be with the family. I didn't want to, Christmas, blah blah blah, and all that. And that's also that creates a trauma because you feel like, oh, I really want to say it, but I just can't. And
Totally.
I'm not a rebel. I'm just really scared
Yes.
to just, be with this person that still was, like, giving you the looks and all the, like, you better don't say it. And so you're actually terrified. And when I came out, and I first talked to my dad, and then I told my mom because I knew it was going to be two different reactions. And in fact, they were, because she was going to make it about her.
Mm.
And I know that my dad was going to be more understanding and, see it as it really was. And he was the first thing he did was like, I'm really sorry because we spent all those years being so hard on you because you were this rebel, and you were this, and in fact you were just terrified, and we didn't see that.
Oh,
So I'm sorry. And I was like, thank you.
I'm so glad that you got that validation, just at least from
that
one.
that was like probably I think the only validation that I got.
Wow.
but from him it was more like from the understanding that he was like, oh, a lot of things are making sense now. Like, he really, like, the way when they talked about my cousin, because he was a really big, like, trouble he was a troublemaker, obviously. The bigger, he grew up and became this terrible person. And every time his name came up, I was like, he's just a criminal. Like, and my dad, he was like, he told me like, I know, like I know he wasn't, but the words that you used, they were so like criminal, and I was like, yeah, he's just a criminal. That was like I just like threw it out there, but didn't really say anything about it. And then he was like, oh, now I get it. And I was like, yeah, he's a criminal. So he was like, okay, I'm sorry that because they were really hard on me. And I was like, you get frustrated because you're like, I'm good. I'm not doing, I was a good student. I took all the piano, the martial arts, everything that they, told me that I had to do. I did it. I got good grades. I was never a troublemaker. I was not drinking before I was, and I was like, I'm good, guy. Inside of me, I was like, if you knew, maybe you would be like a little more. So you that's where the anger, and that's why I stayed on my therapist, because I needed to work on that anger, because it was a lot. It was a lot of years of being like, if you just knew, you would be like thankful that I didn't went on the wrong side, because
Yes,
it can go on both sides.
it can. And I just am happy that you circled it back to that anger, because that is a perfect example of, as kids, try to use anger to protect ourselves from the abuse that's happening, and then we get backlash for that. And that's just another example of why, as adults, we have difficulty expressing that anger, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly what happened in your case. And I'm sorry that that happened.
Yeah, but I think that getting the validation from my dad was like, okay, okay, like okay. I know I wasn't gonna get a lot of from my mom, because a lot of different reasons, but because she took it like, what, as a mother, what have I done? How did I? And I'm like, guys, no one could see that, because it wasn't supposed to happen. How on earth were you supposed to know that he was gonna, you know, putting me in a room when we were kids, and even my brothers were playing outside? I mean, what mind would think about that?
Right.
Because it's not supposed to be, you're not wired that way. So no one can blame anyone but the abuser,
Right.
period. They are the only ones that are at fault.
So
Go
I have
ahead.
a question for you to
Oh,
follow it up. And so I think that it's interesting because we talk about how, well, of course, like in your case, why would your parents know? That's something, it's just something that's not supposed to happen. So, like, as you said, how would they know? Um, but now I find myself, when I imagine potentially having kids in the future, I'm going, I catch myself feeling like I'm going to be so distrusting of every parent, like man and woman. I don't care who you are.
yeah,
I
it
will
doesn't.
not trust you with my kid. Do you find that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it totally. And well, I'm still at the stage of, I'm not even sure that I want to have
Yeah.
kids. Like, I don't see myself. But for example, with my nephew, my sister, the one that live in Houston, he's the one that I basically raised for like 5 months when she was sick. And well, my sister was the first person that I told her about. I was like 18. I started dating my first boyfriend, and I started seeing a couple of things that were like some reactions that I had to someone at. I mean, you could do this to me, and I would be like, "Get out of the way! Do not touch me!" And I had no idea. And then I was like, "Oh, maybe this is," and that's when I started to connect things. And I told her, and we were talking about that the other day. She was like, he's 5 now, so but she's like, I'm not gonna, I I don't know, I'm rambling, but I have a point. It's different now because it's an open conversation. So now more people are aware, and people like you that write a book about your experience. It's also a way of letting everyone know that yeah, it can happen, and it can happen to anyone, and doesn't discriminate, and it's out there. And there's so everyone that talks about their experience, it's another number. It keeps adding up. And what I was talking with my sister, she was like, I'm not gonna, you know until Sam, he's my nephew, until he knows what's right and what's wrong, I'm not gonna leave him with anyone that's not you, for example, like with his cousins on the other side of the family, for example. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. And I'm like, I totally agree, I wouldn't do it either. Look what happened to me. I mean, we were family. We spent every single day together. So how on earth were you supposed to know? But now that you have to. And I didn't knew right from wrong, because my dad and my mom didn't taught me that about your body, and how no one should come close to that. And people do that now.
Right. Yeah.
Like, they are aware, and they have their kids, and my sister is doing that. Like, it's not okay if they want to do this or do that. And I think that's something that wouldn't have happened if a bunch of us wouldn't have gone through that, and just say, like, guys, it happens.
Right.
So yeah, I ramble, and I totally forgot. I think it was the question
Oh, you answered it. We just talked about
oh, okay.
discussing. Yeah, so that's perfect. You answered it. No ramble. That was perfect.
So yeah, what was we were talking about the quote of your book that I
Yeah,
the
the
special
special.
identity. Yeah.
Yes. So, one of the things that I talk about in my book is how, without realizing it, and I know that a lot of other trauma survivors continuously repeat our pasts, and we relive our pasts. And one of the ways that we do that is by attaching ourselves to the trauma, attaching our personalities and our identities to the trauma. And so I talk about three specific mentalities. I'm just going to touch on the one, but I'll list all three of them. I have the victim mentality, the victim identity, the special identity, and then the lone wolf identity. And
Mm,
so when I talk about the special identity, it's when we start to say things like, well, while all my friends were being held and cuddled by their loving parents, I was being abused. But I'm so much funnier than they are. I'm so much more resilient. I'm stronger. I'm special
yeah.
because I experienced trauma and other people didn't. And in a way, at surface level, that's almost seems empowering to say, but it's actually not. It's us creating our identities around our trauma. Because if I didn't experience trauma, then I wouldn't be special. Right?
Exactly.
So I have to then continuously repeat the trauma throughout my life in order to maintain that specialness. And so without even realizing it, shit
You're
will start
talking down
going.
on yourself, basically.
Yes. And my car will break down, or something else bad will happen. And bad things will always happen because I actually
Hmm.
want them to, because that's why I'm special, if that makes sense. And so when we
Yeah.
release our trauma identities, we can actually start seeing really big improvements in our life.
Yeah. Well, because it's also kind of you're projecting yourself, and you know, if you keep projecting all the bad stuff, then you're gonna feel that you're stuck on that cycle of oh, everything is bad, it's happening to me because of this, because of that. And yeah, we want to we're survivors, but your trauma doesn't define you. it's part of you, but it's not you. I mean, you're not. I mean, if you take away the trauma, you're still gonna be this awesome person that you are right now.
Yes, exactly.
You
Exactly.
don't have to, that special identity that you were talking about. That's why it kind of resonated, because it's like, yeah, we all do that. Like in our heads, we repeat that a lot when comparing sometimes to others, and but it's we just have to go through that to know that it's not okay, because it's, I mean, we're just navigating through all the all those thoughts, and that were put, because of something that wasn't supposed to happen. So yeah, that's why you cannot find logic sometimes around it, because it's not supposed to even happen.
Right.
But yeah, I think that the special identity, it's important to acknowledge it, so we can know that you're not your trauma.
Exactly.
That's part of you, but that's not who you are.
Right. My goal for everyone, um, including myself, is to get to the point where the trauma that you experience is almost like a movie that you watched a long time ago. So it's not something that's like present on your mind. It's not something that's affecting you every single day. It's just, oh, I watched that movie a long time ago. I didn't like it. It wasn't great. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to watch it again, but
Yeah,
I
no,
remember
you're
it.
not going to watch it.
Not my favorite,
Yeah,
but it's not who you are. Yeah.
exactly.
Well, hi, Peter. Thank you for tuning in. You remember Peter, right?
I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of. So yeah, that was one of the. I need, guys. I need to read the book. I told her that it's really wrong that I haven't read it, but I kept, like, you kept posting all these quotes, and I was like, "Damn, I need to buy the book." So yeah, I'm gonna post the Barnes and Noble. I think you sent that to me,
Yes, I
so
did.
people know where they can find it. And I think there was also another quote that I thought it was really, oh, the fear of the unknown.
Mm,
It
yes.
was, mm, yeah, from the day we were born into trauma filled homes, we were conditioned to be hyper vigilant about the unknown,
Yes.
and how, it kind of starts at night when, it's the darkness, and kind of we kind of relate that. So I resonated a lot with that part of how we're not being able to sleep, and because our minds just become this hyper vigilant at night of. And I didn't even, and I've tried to understand it in a lot of different ways, but I never saw it the way you were putting it. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, because I found it really interesting.
Well, thank you. Yes, so there's so many. I just started noticing all of the memes and all the jokes about how every time we try to go to bed, that's when all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, remember when you said that thing when you were 13
Uh,
years old? It was so embarrassing. And your mind just like won't shut down as soon as you try to go to sleep. And it's hilarious, yes, but it's also very real. And I wanted to talk about why that happens, especially for trauma survivors. And it all goes back to us learning that we have to be hyper vigilant of everything when we were younger. So we never knew, it was the unknown. We never knew
mhm.
what mood our parents were gonna be in. So we'd always have to be on guard. Like, oh, do I sense that they're mad? Do I sense that they're not in a good mood? Okay.
Yeah.
Or who's gonna come in my room, or who's gonna do this, or are they drunk? We always had to be so hyper vigilant of everything that was going on around us, right? That was related to the unknown. And so now as adults, that doesn't just go away. And so at night, when we turn out the light and there's complete darkness, there's literally the unknown is all around us because we can't really
Mm-hmm.
see anything, right? Then our brains are automatically going to be like, what? I gotta be more on guard. I have to be on more guard. And now I have to think about every single thing that I'm trying to think
Exactly.
about. And so that's why that happens. And one of the ways to combat that is I talk about creating a bedtime routine and just getting into a space where you're calming your mind
Mm-hmm.
before you even try to go to sleep, and you're just letting your mind know, hey, it's safe. It's safe to relax. We're good. Even when the lights are out, we're safe. It's okay. It's a really
Nothing's gonna happen.
yes, exactly. It's really healing.
Yeah, I think it also becomes like a cycle that might trigger, for example, having a night terror or something, because your mind is, before going to sleep, is already thinking about all that, and that also, and that triggers, and then the next day, and it's all like a this
Spiral.
vicious, this spiral of stuff. And I don't know if it happens to you, but I'm like super jumpy. I
Oh,
I I didn't realize that until someone. It was my last relationship, that he was like, "Why every time I say your name, you're like thinking the worst?" And I'm like, "Oh, I do that, yeah." But I didn't. And he was like, "It's okay, like everything is okay." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I'm trying to work on that." And it's part of that every time in my house that I heard my name, it was like, Lucia Amelia, and he was like, "Oh my God, what did I?" And I always knew it was something bad. So that's part of, the being jumpy at every single, thing that, I don't know. You stay with that, and that, I think that's the part that has been more difficult for me to like separate the fact that I don't need to be hyper vigilant all the time,
right.
because I am.
Yeah. Well,
even at, even at work, if they wrote me on WhatsApp, and I was like thinking, okay, he's gonna fire me, that's what's gonna happen. It's like you always go to the worst scenario, and then you go, and he's like, no, I just wanted to say that we have a meeting with whatever on site, something that, like, and especially that job that I was just talking about. He was my boss, but he was like 38 maybe.
mhm,
And since I started my therapy, I was really open about it. I was like, I need to leave like at 6, because I'm doing this. Like, I made them aware, if I was not gonna be hiding and I have to go to the doctor, or making up excuses, because it's mental health. It's the same thing.
yeah,
And I really wanted to, I have that compromise, and I was like, I need, those 2 days I have to leave at 6 sharp, because I have to go to my therapy. And he was like, no, like, like, that's okay, because he knew, like, I've been so open about it at that point, that he already knew what had happened. And and often he told me, if he wrote me, he was like, Lucia, everything is okay. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
absolutely.
But that's not fine, because you're gonna, you maybe in the future you will have a job where, you won't have a cool boss that will tell you, like, chill, it's okay,
Yeah.
and you cannot have that constant thought of your name attached to the worst.
You can't. Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's hard because it's not something that is just a mental thing. That's actually our like adrenal systems that have been trained to be so hypervigilant, and so it really is about rewiring our entire bodies and our brains in order to work through that. So it's not
Yeah. Oh.
just as easy as saying I'm not going to do this anymore. So you're doing the work.
exactly. Um, well, hi, Molly. Oh, you're from Pittsburgh too, right?
From
You and and
Pittsburgh.
and, and Christine are from Pittsburgh. I keep forgetting that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm in Pittsburgh.
great topic. Thank you, Tim. Sorry, I haven't seen the a lot of the comments, but I know everyone it's here, so thank you for tuning in. I had another.
Lucia, can I? This is so inappropriate, but I have to pee so bad. Can I go do that, and then you talk about your experiences, and I'm gonna go pee.
Okay, buy a break. Okay, so okay, let me go through the comments now. Eh, well, hi TJ. I didn't see you there. What else, Peter? Hello. Um, if you guys have any question for Katie, you can type. I'm gonna drop the link for her book. Let me just put this here. I'm gonna find the link. Molly, okay, let's just wait for her to come. I'm searching for the book. Cake pops and coffee. So here's the link for the book in case you guys.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
I'm
I
sorry.
was I was just dropping the link for your book,
Okay.
and Molly has a question for you. Are you going to Picklesburg? What is that? I want to know.
I'm totally gonna go to Picklesburg. Yes, I love it. It's so funny. Yeah. Picklesburg is this festival and it's all pickle themed. So you can have like pickle ice cream, there's pickle balloons, they have this giant pickle like sign over a bridge. It's really fun. It's cute.
Wow, I love pickles. Like
Do
I
you?
eat them. Yeah, I eat them like if it was I don't know whatever. It's and my my mom told me that she used to find me in in the I would drink the water of the pickles. I know.
You are a dedicated pickle lover then.
Yeah,
Wow,
I'm a
cool.
pickle lover, and that's like a lot of sodium for your body.
It's a lot of soda.
Because I did the same with olives. I eat the olives, and I used to drink the water too. I
Interesting.
still love olives, like all type, and
I
pickle. And they say that pickle juice is good. I'm not sure what's the science behind it, but I don't drink it anymore because it would my face is kind of like
yeah.
this. Um. So yeah, are we missing anything? I'm not sure of what we wanted to.
Oh,
I don't know if you want to add anything.
I feel like we covered a lot of
Yeah.
our goals. Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can. I dropped the link for your book there, which I am also going to read, and stop reading the quotes of your book on your Instagram. Oh, you also have the yeah, I was telling her about because on the studio I have all the videos from Formula One, and I was like, let me just erase a couple of those so I don't, mistakenly play a Formula One video in the middle of the show. But um, pickle water is good for cleaning stain. Well, yeah, yeah, I can, I can make sense out of that. But a lot of people say that drinking pickle water it's somehow good for your body, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, it would put my face this size, but if there's a scientific explanation, you can, let me know. Oh, electrolyte, but I can. There's like water that comes with
Mhm.
electrolytes too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Well,
other ways to get those electrolytes. It's on the pickle juice.
I wanted to mention about you have a, oh my god, I was doing it. You have a an online coaching.
Yeah, I have an online trauma healing program. So I do one-on-one coaching, but for anybody who's like, I just really want to do this on my own at my own pace. I don't really want to have to share with anybody. I totally understand that. And so I have an all online program that you can sign up for, and there's all these tools and fun videos and interactions
Yeah,
that you can do, but it's all on your own and at your own pace. So I know that Lucy, you have my website as well. So that's
yeah, I'll drop that too.
perfect.
um so everyone follow Katie. She has her, well, you have your, like, follow her on apps, because you also have all the previous broadcasts that you used to do about around trauma and mental health. And hopefully you can, if you want to start, because I know you took a break from social media.
I
I
did.
also kind of took a break on, like, on that side. It kind of, Christine did the same too. I think with the pandemic, it became like overwhelming at some point. Like,
It really
being
did.
on top of that all the time, I was like, no, I cannot.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a pandemic anxiety right now. I'm not.
Ah, yeah.
I don't.
Wait, I just need to focus on me. And I also feel like as trauma survivors, at least for me, one of my biggest negative beliefs is that I'm not doing enough. So I always believe that I'm not doing enough, whether it's for my
Mm,
business, in my relationship with my friends, whatever, at work. And so I was finally like, I need to just not do so much and be okay with it. And so I took a break from social media. And guess what? My business didn't fall apart. My book didn't fall apart.
exactly.
It's okay. So it was a good
Everything stay the same.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be kinder with ourselves sometimes. The same kindness we often offer other people, we should, like, do it with our own minds. Hence the name of it of the show. But yeah, it was a good show. Thank you for joining, and I hope we can do more stuff in the future. Um, because we can talk and talk and ramble. But
Oh, I loved it. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody who watched and engaged. It's so fun when there's comments that we can interact with. So thank you.
yeah, that's part of, the creating that space where everyone can just, throw a comment and resonate, and
Oh,
whatever you want to say, it's fine. It's part of the conversation. It's part of also breaking the stigma around it. It's all good. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, and go check Katie's book. I will do that too. Um, and we'll see you again next week, I think. And Katie, thank you for being here, and I hope we can keep doing fun stuff.
me too. Thank you.